We're testing out Yamaha and Honda's 2000 watt generators to see which one of these is still the better option out there today. We're going to be doing sound checks with load and no load, and also an empty weight check as well, and then we'll do a full load check at the end to see which one of these just performs better. As far as these two generators go, their features and their faceplates are relatively the same. We'll go over the Yamaha first just to kind of get a quick rundown. You can see the indicator lights up there will show oil, also a green light that'll tell you that it's on and running, and an overload light as well. Just below that, you have a couple of switches that basically lets it run or stop. And then just to the left of that, you have a economy switch mode, which turns that on and off as well. And if you want that green light to come on, just go ahead and pull up on that green cord like so. But make sure your gas is in the on position along with that red switch and you're good to go. But you will have to pull open the choke if you haven't fired it up that day and let it warm up just for a few seconds. Then go ahead and push it back in. Both of these generators can be paralleled with those little ports there. And you do have your 120 volt receptacles down below. And one other thing to show you is that with this handy dandy cord right here, you can plug in a battery if you want to so charge it with a DC port that's down there that puts out about 8 amps or so. And it only goes in one way. You can't put it in upside down as shown. So flip it over, plug it in, and now you can plug in a battery or whatever it is you want to charge up, and you're good to go. And if you take a look right there, those parallel ports, if you do run that, you want to make sure you ground it with that little grounding nut there. And that little red switch has nothing to do with the red light up there. That just basically resets the DC out and not the overload up top. You will have to shut it off and restart it. As we look at the Honda, it also has a choke switch as well that you flip back and forth, but I will admit that the Yamaha's choke switch is a lot more fun to play with. You have a pull cord as the same as the Yamaha, but the Yamaha's cord is bigger, not that size matters. But one thing to look at here is that when you do operate the on and off switch on the Honda is that it doesn't have a fuel shutoff switch like the Yamaha does, but the newer model Honda does have that fuel shutoff, which drains the carburetor. And as you take a look at the faceplate here, it does have an economy switch as well that you can turn on and off. And then right next to that, you will see the parallel ports as well, just like the other generator with a little grounding lug down below, along with the indicator lights. But this one does have a little bit of a secret on it, is that green light will flash a certain amount of times, and it lets you know how many hours are actually on your generator. So it does kind of have a built-in hour meter. And then you have your 120 port right there, basically, along with the L530R twist lock plug, which is right next to it. And this happens to be the Honda companion model. So basically for paralleling two of these together, you get a twist lock plug like this. That way you can hook this up to a 30 amp service trailer, or you can use a plug kind of like that guy there, which I'm going to be using on the Yamaha generator a little bit later for our load tests. And basically we'll show you how those guys work later. As we go on and take a little bit more of a look on these generators and how you service them, basically if you want to do any major service of the Yamaha, you got to pull off that whole plate, except if you want to check the oil or add oil, it does have a nice little service window here. But if you want to change the spark plug, the whole side panel has to come off. Unlike the Honda, it has this access plate up top. Pop this guy off and it gives you a nice open area to get to that spark plug that you can change out. And when it comes to servicing the Honda, you just basically take a quarter or a screwdriver like that and go ahead and pop that side panel open. And then if you want to work on the Honda, or the Yamaha I should say, you pull off that whole side panel there and it gives you access to basically everything you need to get to as far as the oil change and the air filter. And then the Honda is just that one side panel, but it gives you access to everything you need to get to. So we're going to go ahead and get some of our testing underway, and we're going to drain out the fuel of both of these guys real quick. That way they don't have any fuel in it. And then I'm going to take them outside. I'm going to run them until they're empty, but they both will still have oil in it. So that's going to make it to where our weight test is pretty accurate. We'll fire these guys up. We're going to let them run for a little bit and then basically go inside and do the weight check real quick. So now that these guys are both empty, no fuel, just the oil, we'll go ahead and weigh it. And now you can see that 47.8 pounds is what the Honda weighs. We'll weigh it one more time just for good measure. All right, and one more time. Looks like coming out of 47.8 pounds. So we'll go ahead and reset that, kind of get it calibrated again at 0, and we'll put the Yamaha on there. Look at that, 47.8 pounds. One more time for good measure. Wow, that's amazing. I should probably go ahead and buy myself a lotto ticket. That just doesn't happen often. All right, we'll go outside where it's nice, and if you guys do happen to like the video, make sure to smash that like button for me. Definitely appreciate it. So right now, the ambient noise is basically running in the 40s and stuff, so we're going to go ahead and get that Honda fired up. We're going to have that exhaust facing us. The generator is currently running in economy mode, so the reason we're also outside is because we are going to test this in my backyard later to see what the difference is. Some people were kind of suggesting that I go outside where it's open, no sound reflection, and so we'll try it like that. And And so basically with the exhaust facing us, we're getting about 61 decibels. We'll go ahead and have the exhaust facing away now, and this is about as quiet as it's going to get if you're putting it at the 23-foot amount is where most of these are measured at. So, and after letting this run in economy mode with the exhaust away, 23 feet, which is pretty much where I do most of my measuring at, you can see it's running right about 57.5 decibels after we kind of average it out a few times. So we'll go ahead and we'll get the Yamaha going, do the same test. We'll have the exhaust facing us. It's going to be in the economy mode. Then we'll go ahead and let this run for a little bit, kind of get our numbers, and you can see with the exhaust towards us about 58.5 dB. Go ahead and turn the generator around, have it facing out the other way, and again we'll let this thing run for a little bit, get a couple averages, then we'll go ahead and move to the backyard and kind of show you guys the difference real quick, and I think you'll see that it's actually not really that much. So exhaust away, 56 decibels. Now we'll switch and we'll go to the backyard where I do most of my testing back here. Now we're going to do the Honda. It's in economy mode right now, and the sound is basically going down my side yard. And so after letting it run again, and I've done this test before, and this is about where it comes out, is about 59 decibels in my backyard. And at the park we're at about 57.5, but there is a little bit of room for error, so sometimes you could always contribute a half a dB, maybe even a full dB, depending. So we'll go ahead and do the Yamaha, same test, let that run for just a little bit, get another average, and then as you can see here in just a second, well, as far as the park goes and as far as the backyard goes, it's only 1 decibel difference, not a huge like some people were suggesting, so at least we kind of found out the difference. So we'll go ahead, we're going to move on to our load test now, and there are some interesting things that you will see along the way when we do both of the tests for these generators. So we're going to get the meter hooked up, get this thing fired up, and you can see we're starting with 127 volts on the Honda. And we'll get this guy kind of set up like so with a live meter so you can see it as we go. And right now you can see that there's 180 watts being drawn right now into my trailer, which this trailer is a 30 amp service, and usually I use that little heater right there as kind of my testing, but it's about 85 degrees and that guy's not going to work. It is a great heater though. Anyway, so we'll go over here real quick just to show you what's going on. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to turn the converter off here in a second. You kind of look at my battery meter there, it's pretty much charged anyway. So we're just going to go ahead and turn that guy off. So you can see the converter switch here. We're going to turn that off, and you watch the meter, see that thing go down to 0. So there we go. So this gives us a little bit more accurate testing too. So we're going to start off with a microwave up here, and I want you guys to pay attention to the numbers for later when we test the Yamaha and everything, and I will put some side to side comparisons so you can see. So we'll let this guy fire up and start running, and basically this guy's going to run for just a couple minutes, and we'll take a look at that in a minute. And so I'm going to use this guy along with also this 15 watt heater that I have down over here. So we'll spin this guy around, and it has 3 settings on it, a low, medium, and high. And we'll use that here in just a second. So turn this guy on like so. Now you can see that we're drawing up more power than it's actually rated for. And if you guys are also wondering too, I'm not going to do the AC test. It's not going to work with my 15K unit. You can get an easy start or a soft start, and that would actually help you guys, and you could run some smaller generators, but not for this one, so I'm not going to do it. Not worth the test. So back to this guy again. Now the generator again is only rated at 13.3 consistent running amps. That's 1600 watts. And as we turn the power up on this, we're basically exceeding the max, which is 16 amps. So now you can see the light is on. Generator is really dropping down as far as our voltage, and it shuts off. So what we're going to do is we're going to reset this, and I want to show you guys some stuff a little bit later here in a second, because we're also going to do our sound check as well. So we'll go ahead and reset the generator like so. We're going to go over here and do a couple of little things different, and again, remember some of these numbers for later, because you will see some different stuff going on with the Yamaha generator. So we're also going to use that heat gun, because I've used that before. And let me grab this heater, we're going to spin it around. We're going to use this guy, and so pay attention to the meter there. Go ahead and turn that guy on. And so when we use this, we're also going to use that heat gun that's down there, because both of these, that guy there and the heat gun, are both a max of 1500 watts. So with this guy having a little bit more control, we'll turn it up to medium now. And so this is about 650 and then 900 watts or so. And I believe that's 900 watts and 1500 watts. So we're going to go ahead and turn this on. We'll make sure that the bottom dial is also all the way up. And then we'll turn that all the way up. Go ahead and turn that on all the way. So now we should be at 1500 watts there. And then this guy here is going to be 900 and 1500, as you can see right there, 1500 watt heat gun. So go ahead and pay attention to that meter. We'll turn that on. You can see that guy there kind of drops down a voltage but comes right back up, and so far so good. Now we're at max load on the generator, and Honda says you can actually run this for 30 minutes roughly at its max capacity of 2000 watts. So, and even the Yamaha says you can do that as well. So since we're at the max capacity at max load, we're going to do our sound check real quick. And if you take a look, basically with this thing running a full blast, you're at about, if we look at it, 75.5 dBs. So kind of let that average out. 75.5 looks to be about a pretty good number. Could go even down to 75 maybe, but so kind of let it run there. And that umbrella is not affecting the sound or anything. It's really just to take the glare off the meter, so I didn't have a lot of glare on there. So now we'll go ahead and punch that all the way up to basically two 1500 watt items. So that's 3000 watts of draw we're trying to get right now. And you can see the amount of voltage drop, and technically the generator should have shut off sooner. At least I thought it should have. Most of the new ones, they all shut off pretty much at 110 volts, 112 volts. So I find it odd that even the Honda, a couple times I've tested this, I've gotten it down to 80 and 90 volts. It's odd how it'll do it. But so we're going to swap this guy out real quick. We're going to go ahead and bring the Yamaha over, get it set up and ready to go. And now I'm going to have the Yamaha meter on the left and then the Honda meter on the right for this first part of this test, so you guys can see kind of equally what it looks like as far as, you know, the test that we're doing. So you have 126 volts on the right, 127 or so, and the converter is still off. And then if you look at the Yamaha, we're starting off with just a little bit lower voltage at 124 as I get the heater turned around. Boom, we'll start up the microwave, and here we go. So you can kind of see it side by side as they kind of gear up and go. And the meters are offset just a little bit because it is hard to get 3 videos in perfect sync. I'm pretty good, but I'm not that good, so you have to bear with me on that. Okay, so just the microwave. And as you can see, the Honda is already putting out more voltage and more amps just in general. And now we're going to go ahead and fire up this first notch on the heater. And as you kind of take a look at the voltages now, and one thing we are going to do is, again, not doing that AC test, I'm going to let the Honda run out all the way and turn on the third switch. And we're going to watch the voltage drop on the Honda. Then we're going to watch the voltage drop on the Yamaha here in just a second. So now we're on the medium high, or basically on the medium setting. Watch the Honda. We're going to do the Honda first. So I'm going to switch it over to the high setting. There you see it dropping down to about 103, 104. Boom, it shuts off. So now we do the Yamaha, and you can see there, look at the voltage drop now. So basically 102, even hitting 101 volts. You can see the light on the microwave a little bit dimmer. And so basically this thing should be shutting off. And honestly, if this was one of those Chinese generators, I could never get them to do this. They always shut off at 110, 112 volts. And as you can see, finally it shuts off as we go out here. But we still have one more test to do, and I want you guys to see what happens later. It's crazy. So we're gonna go ahead and reset this real quick, shut it off, turn it back on, and boom, we got our voltage back, got the green light back, ready to go. So we're gonna do that same test again that we did the second test, using both of the heaters, and then we'll also do our sound check again under a full load. So we'll go ahead and turn this guy on to the first notch, then we'll check out our voltages and stuff. All right, so we'll go ahead and just bump it up to the next one real quick, kind of get this moving along a little bit. All right, so now as we kind of look again, one thing I do want you to notice, and this is in a couple minutes, we're going to do our sound check here in a minute, but we're going to bump this guy up to the first notch. And if you already noticed that the Honda put out basically 2000 some watts, correct? So at 2050 watts is what the Honda was putting out under the same condition. And if you notice what we're putting out now, we're just at about 1900, and we don't have quite as high as a voltage and stuff. But if we do look at our overall sound rating though, it is actually less. I mean, we're 2.5 dB quieter than the Honda was. And the thing is, we're not putting out quite as much power as the Honda was, so there is a give and take. But the Honda also has a bigger engine. It's 98.5 cc versus the Yamaha is running a 79 cc motor, so it might have a little bit more torque, obviously, to kind of help generate just a little bit of extra power. So we'll go ahead and turn this on. This is where the test does get interesting. I'm going to flick this on all the way to full. So now we should have a total of 3000 watts roughly, right? So we have 1500 on the big heater, 1500 on the heat gun. We're going to keep this guy running for a little bit. I want you to see what happens with the Yamaha, and this is where I think things really kind of get actually disappointing for the Yamaha, because it should have shut off a long time ago, and right now we're at 103 volts, and I want to see if I can get this thing to shut off even quicker. So I'm just going to go ahead and turn on this fridge. Here's a couple more amps. Turn this guy on, and boom, look at the voltage drop now down in the 80s. And I even had a Honda do this same test once, and it's in one of the videos I did, and it was just kind of odd at how low it lets you get the voltage going if you sneak the power up to it. And look at that thing running, and listen to how it sounds. And this isn't over yet, just stay with me. You guys are going to find this pretty interesting. So I'm almost feeling bad for the generator here at the moment, because I'm wondering what it's doing and why it won't shut off. So I'm going to go back over here, and I'm going to go ahead and turn off the fridge, because I like my little fridge, and with it doing a low voltage like that, I don't want it to break this thing. So we'll turn that off real quick, and then we're going to go down here to the heat gun, and stay with me, because the generator is not done yet. It's still going to do some stuff. So we're going to go ahead and turn this guy off, and kind of just show you a little bit of something here real quick. And we're going to see if we can just shut it off real quick by basically turning the heat gun on all the way now. So sorry the little image is in the way there, but so now the heat gun is all the way back on, and so you can just hear the generator out there is just kind of struggling. It's got those lower RPMs, but both of the heaters are on max, and you can see the heat gun still got plenty of it's still got plenty of power, even though the voltage is way down. So I assume the bigger heater is the one that's probably suffering the most. But if you listen to the generator, it's just struggling over there, and it just sounds horrible, and I feel bad for it. I mean, look at the numbers on it. So this is where the generator should have shut off I don't even know how long ago, and it's just kind of disappointing that if you sneak power up on it like this, and it doesn't matter if it's an eco mode or not, that if you do have sensitive electronics on this, if I had an oscilloscope on it, it'd probably be showing all kinds of variances as far as that total harmonic distortion and what 60 hertz looks like. It could be varying all over the place. So I'm actually going to go ahead and shut this guy off here, and then pretty much just shut off the heater right here, and then we're kind of back to zero. So interesting test, to say the least. And so I thought this was kind of an odd thing that the Yamaha did. It never really did shut off. But as we go through some of the closing topics here, if you do want to buy that Honda, you're going to be looking for that one used at $500 to $750, and it is in good condition. It's going to sell fast. Or you can buy the new 2200 model. It's $1,150. But the Honda does have a larger CC engine at 98.5 cc's, and the Yamaha is still a good generator. I just found it odd it didn't shut off, but it is more fuel efficient and quieter. But anyway, I hope you guys liked the video. Make sure to smash that like button. If you guys want to see more, make sure to subscribe.